Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Batra, page 162b, top of the page with the words Iboilahu. Iboilahu, a dilemma was raised before the sages. Shita umechatza mai tashima. Shitin pasul. Ashita umechatza kosher. A dilemma was raised before the sages. If the space of a line and a half is left blank, what is the halacha? The Gemara seeks a solution to the dilemma. Come and hear what was stated in the Batra cited earlier. If one writing a document distanced the witness's signatures 2 lines from the text of the document, leaving 2 lines blank, the document is not valid. One can infer, but if there is a gap of only a line and a half, the document is valid. Eva Seifa Shita achas kosher, shita achas hu the kosher, shita mechza pasul, elameha leka lishmamina. The Gemara deflects this proof. Say the last clause of the Batra. If one writing a document distanced the witness's signatures 1 line from the text of the document is valid. One can infer it is only when there is a gap of 1 line that the document is valid, but if there is a gap of a line and a half, it is not valid. The Gemara states, rather, no inference is to be learned from this Batra. My Havela Tashima Ditanya Hirchik Esa Edim Shnei Shitin Minaksav Pasul Pachish Mikan Kosher. What halachic conclusion was reached about this matter? Come and hear a proof from a different source, as is taught in a Batra to Sefta 11:10. If one writing a document distanced the witness's signatures 2 lines from the text of the document is not valid. But if the gap is less than that, it is valid. It is clear from the Batra that any gap less than 2 full lines does not invalidate the document. Hayu arba v'chamisha edim chasumin al hashtal v'nimtza echad mehem karov pasul diskayim edus b'sha'ar. The Batra continues, if there were 4 or 5 witnesses signed on the document, and one of them was found to be a relative of one of the parties in the document, or one of them was found to be otherwise disqualified from bearing witness, the testimony on the document may be established via the other witnesses. Messiah lechizkiah damar chizkiah mi lau bekrohim kasher. The Gemara draws a further conclusion from this Batra. This supports the opinion of Chizkiah, as Chizkiah says, if one filled in the gap between the document and the signatures with signatures of relatives, the document is valid. Ve'al titma she'arei avir suka posel b'shlosha schach pasul posel be'arba'a. Chizkiah continued, and do not be surprised by this, as a similar situation is found with regard to the roofing of a sukkah. Empty space in the roofing of a sukkah disqualifies the sukkah if the space extends for 3 handbreadths, whereas materials that are unfit to be used as roofing disqualify the sukkah only if the unfit material extends for 4 handbreadths. If a sukkah had a gap in its roofing of 3 handbreadths, it is disqualified. But if the gap is filled in with unfit material, the sukkah is valid since it is less than 4 handbreadths. This is comparable to the situation with a document. If there is a significant gap between the text and the signatures, the document is not valid. But if the gap is filled in with signatures of those disqualified from bearing witness, it is valid. Iboilahu, a dilemma was raised before the sages, Shnei Shitin Shamru, with regard to the gap of 2 blank lines between the text and the signatures, which the sages said invalidates the document.